For some, the furthest point on the southwestern peninsula of England might be the ideal vacation spot. Along the Cornish Riviera, adventurous surfers catch brilliant waves beside gorgeous seaside cliffs, while others find peace in harbor villages like Fowey and Falmouth. But one woman's English vacation proved to be more unnerving than serene. When Jess Arneson took a trip to the beaches of Cornwall, she, along with everyone else along the shores that day, might have expected a relaxing day in the sun. Instead, she witnessed something unsettling. Hundreds of unidentifiable objects lay scattered along the sand, and just the sight of them sent nearly every beachgoer into a panic. While on vacation in Cornwall, England, the country's southernmost county, which juts out into the Celtic Sea, 27-year-old Jess Arneson spotted something she'd never seen before along the beach. She spotted an orb that looked like a vegetable that had begun to rot, or an old baseball that had just been left out in the sun and chewed on by a dog. Stranger, there wasn't just one orb either, there were hundreds of them. For Jess, the scene was slightly disturbing. The orbs were stretching away as far as you could see along the shoreline, she told The Guardian. The ones I saw were a bit smaller than a football, but it's possible there were some that were bigger. That made her uneasy. I didn't want to go any further along the beach, she said. We want the experts to examine them and let us know if they're safe, because quite frankly, they really are weird and a bit scary. And she wasn't alone in her fears. Other locals and tourists along the shores were equally perplexed by the foreign bodies. In fact, a dog walker had an interesting experience with one, calling them like something out of Aliens, referencing James Cameron's well-known film. They're all over the beach and the dogs really didn't like them, he continued. I took one home with me, then panicked and put it in a bin in case it attacked. Surely that had to be an overreaction. After the public outcry, experts finally weighed in on what exactly those spherical objects were. In the process, they sued the fears of those worrying the beaches of Cornwall had been subjected to an alien invasion. It turned out the orbs were actually a species of sea urchin known as Echinocardium cordatum, but the experts gave the urchin another name too, one much more fitting of their similarity to a certain tuberous vegetable. Say hello to a sea potato. They're quite common at the lower end of the right type of sandy beach, living below the sand in burrows, said Martin Attrill, the director of the Marine Institute at Plymouth University. He had more to say too. You get lots of them on Torbay, Maine Beach, for example, Martin continued. They're related to starfish and usually covered with little spines. Still, there was something off about this batch of sea potatoes. All these washed up potatoes were dead as doornails, a fact that led to some pretty morbid theories from the locals. Had beachgoers that day witnessed some bizarre sea urchin disaster? Not quite, as Martin Attrill, shown here, clarified this was actually a bit more natural than people suspected. I think such things happen from time to time and are entirely natural, a bit like bushfires, he added. But how? Martin explained that sea potatoes group up from their mating sessions. If a vicious storm were to happen with so many potatoes going at it, let's just say it's never good to get caught in a storm with your pants down. Still, there were other plausible explanations. In May of 1995, for instance, there was another epic sea potato episode on a southern coast of England. Then the mass fatality of potatoes wasn't caused by a storm, but by unusually calm waters. The calm waters allowed an inordinate amount of plankton to thrive along the top of the seawater. With plankton sucking up all the air, there wasn't much left for the sea potatoes. Regardless of the cause, Martin wasn't concerned. Many of these marine seabed species, Martin said, have real boom and bust cycles, where some years they'll do really well and others not so well. It's all part of the circle of life. Still, he admitted this was a strange event. There does seem to be a lot of them at the moment, Martin said, and once again he pointed to the weather. A couple of massive storms in the weeks prior to Jess's vacation certainly could have caused it. One question remained, were these things dangerous? Jess found them a bit scary, and the dog walker threw his into a bin. Others too feared that they were poisonous, and admittedly there did appear to be something ominous about them. But according to Martin, the fears were unwarranted. Back in the day, my daughter, aged about 6, enjoyed digging them up and holding them like a pet and then letting them burrow home again, he said. They're not harmful at all. Well, you may not be able to bake, boil, mash, or stick a sea potato in a stew, or really much of anything else with them. Seeing hundreds of them washed up on a beach would indeed be an eyebrow-raising experience. How would you feel if you saw a beach littered with sea potatoes? This must have been an eerie experience for Jess and the other beachgoers. I hope you liked this video. If so, please hit the subscribe button and click on the bell icon to make sure you never miss a video from our channel.